Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
Welcome to episode 188. How are you, Josh Rohr?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good.
Cool. So this is probably going to be the last episode for at least a few weeks. I got some life events coming up that is going to preclude. Is that a word? Did I use it
Preclude
correctly?
is a word. Yeah.
Did I use it correctly?
I think so.
Cool.
It's amazing.
So few life events. It really is amazing.
Mm.
Nobody's more shocked than I am right now.
So Halloween's a big event for you.
Yep. Halloween is coming up. No, for those that don't know, my wife is pregnant and is due next week. So I'm going to take a few weeks off from work and podcast and all that and just kind of be dad for a couple days or a couple weeks.
Woohoo.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's cool.
Be dad.
Yeah. So I'm excited, a little nervous having a second one. One's been a handful, but who knows? Maybe the
But
second one will be
be
chill
so much easier.
and yeah, who knows?
Oh.
We will see.
And you don't know if it's a boy or a girl, so this is going to be a surprise to everyone.
That is
Like,
true. I do not know.
it'll be one or the other.
It will be one or the other. Yep.
Wow.
So
Pretty exciting.
yeah, no, we're pumped. Just
Yeah.
trying to get all the last minute odds and ends done work wise so that I can, hand everything off to Wade and just unplug for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Be a
Um,
dad.
yeah, a couple people have meets coming up like that same weekend where that hopes do. So trying to get everything in place for that and make sure everybody's taken care of. But yeah, it should be good. We're excited.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
That's awesome.
we had a couple questions come in on Q&A. That was one of them. Actually, we'll just start with that. I was gonna do it later, but one of the questions was, "Are you excited about the new edition?" So that was from somebody that obviously knows. We haven't. I think we posted it on social media like when we first found out, but then it's been like radio silent ever since. But ta-da! Now it's time. So
Yeah.
go time.
For real.
Yeah.
Nice.
The other question that came in is actually training related. And I think I'm going to save that one because it's asking basically what my my coaching style is and what Wade's coaching style is and what kind of continuing education we do. I think I'll hold off on that one. I just wanted to mention it so people know that I actually got it. And maybe we'll have Wade on and so we can actually talk about it at some point. Plus, we have a lot of other stuff to get to. So
Okay. So let's get to it. High school
cool.
nationals.
Yeah, so recently USA Powerlifting voted to accept qualifying totals from high school state championships that are sanctioned by either USA Powerlifting or the state's high school powerlifting or sports association, only for high school USA Powerlifting high school nationals. Um, basically, basically, there's some states, Wisconsin I know is one of them, that they have a high school season and their regional meets and high school state championships, one of the rules is like they cannot compete outside of their association during the season. So that limits them from being able to qualify for USA Powerlifting high school nationals that happens like right after their season is over. So basically, that was one of the main reasons. A couple other associations are similar. So basically now, as long as you compete in a USA Powerlifting sanctioned event, the qualifying total obviously still counts, or the official high school powerlifting or sports association for your state, if they have a high school state championship, that counts. So that opens the door, I think, to make it a little bit easier for some high school athletes to qualify. So I think that's a good change. And that's, again, exclusive to high school nationals. That does not count for other national events.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Uh,
Uh, the remaining Pro Series events will happen during our little podcast hiatus. So I want to mention them now. The Bench Press World Cup is October 19th and 20th, and Australian Nationals is October 26th and 27th. So those are the last two events to qualify for the pro finals, which are December 14th and 15th. And the invites were actually already sent out to register for the pro finals to the athletes that are currently in position to make the final. So theoretically, like those two events could bump somebody down out of being officially qualified, but because the deadline and turn I guess because the turnaround time is so short, they are going to basically just add them in. So instead of a flight of 10, for example, it may end up being a flight of 11 or 12 if a few other people qualify through those events. And the reason being is just like I said, it's a short turnaround time. If we wait till the end of October to send out registration for December 14th and 15th, that's like a 5 or 6 week turnaround time. A lot of people are probably going to decline because they didn't know if they were in or not. So this way, it guarantees people that they're in the final so they can train, plan for it, register, and move on accordingly. So I think that was a good way to go. Otherwise, you might have a good portion of people be like, well, you tell me now 5 weeks out, I'm not, whatever. So I think
Yeah.
that was a good strategy there. And it'll make for the most competitive finals. And, we want the best lifters there. And this gives the opportunity to do that. Let's see. I'm just running down the list here of our stuff. The 5 bar showdown is the super total meet that was supposed to happen on October 20th. Uh, Caleb and Caleb and Kelly Williams and Amy Pancake are running it, and they just informed me that they're going to postpone it. Yeah, well, a lot of it was kind of decided to do it last minute, so there was kind of that expectation. Again, talking about the short turnaround time,
Right.
um, it's like 2 weeks away, and I think we only opened registration like 2 or 3 weeks ago, or even decided to have it like two or
Mm,
three weeks ago. So it was kind of just a shot in the dark to see if people would be interested last minute, which, you know, some were, but I think they're going to postpone it and probably into even next year. They don't have an exact date yet. And then, have a long window of time. And they're hoping to have a date here announced in the next couple of weeks is what I'm told. So hopefully when we come back with a new episode, we'll have,
mm.
the details there. But, keep that on your radar. And you can follow information at 5 Bar Showdown, the number 5 Bar Showdown on Instagram. Updates will be posted there as well.
So,
Uh,
for those who don't know, what is the 5 bar showdown?
it is a super total meet. So it's a USA weightlifting event immediately followed by a USA powerlifting event. And basically, weightlifting uses the Sinclair formula and powerlifting uses the DOTS formula. And basically, the lifter competes in both and they multiply your scores together for a coefficient total, and whoever has the highest coefficient total wins. So
And can people from outside of Georgia compete?
yes, I feel like you're bump setting me so I can spike it.
Yes,
Is that what you're doing? Yes,
pretty
it's
much.
open to
Yes.
anybody nationwide, so anybody in the US can compete. So it's a pretty cool event. We Caleb and I ran it, I think 2017, 18, and 19, or 16, 17, 18, something like that. And then we took a couple years off from it, and it's back. So
Nice.
excited.
Yeah, that's exciting because I think that's really cool to
Yep.
see someone take on that super total.
Yeah, it's no joke because literally you weigh in for weightlifting, compete in weightlifting, snatch and clean and jerk, and then you immediately go weigh in again for powerlifting and then compete in squat, bench, deadlift. So it's an all day event.
Mm.
And it's officially sanctioned by both USA Weightlifting and USA Powerlifting. So, even though you're doing a super total and that's all that counts, um, you can still use the USA weightlifting portion for a qualifying total, and you can still use the USA powerlifting portion for a qualifying total for weightlifting and powerlifting, respectively.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yep. Let's see what else. Georgia State meet registration opened on October 1st. So it's been open for about a week. I fully expect that meet to sell out. So I would suggest if you plan on doing it, register sooner than later. And now that I say that, I should tell my lifters that before this episode comes out because, uh, you know, a lot of my lifters have not signed up yet, so they need to do that. Anyway, yeah, I fully expect that meet to sell out. In my opinion, the best meet in Georgia. It's huge, and it's at the Gas South Convention Center this year, which is that big arena in Duluth that some concerts and you know professional sporting events happen at. So it's going to be big. They are adding. I think we already mentioned this. They're adding a primetime session to it. Details still not real clear on how they're doing that yet, but it's pretty exciting, I think. So anyway, if you're a power lifter in Georgia, I would get signed up for that sooner than later.
For sure. Yeah, because
Or
that's going to fill up.
yeah, or don't be mad when I say I told you so.
So any update on the team scoring? Was anything ever addressed, looked at? Anything?
No. So
No.
I was told by Kathy that she'd look into the scoring a little bit more because we actually had a 2 hour conversation on the phone a couple weeks ago
Mm,
about it. Well, about other things, but that too. And I just told her, I kind of went through the examples and, by the end, she's like, I see where you're coming from. I'm not sure I agree, but I will think about it more. So we'll see.
mm, okay.
The only thing I do know about, I guess, in terms of scoring is they are not going to have a bench only division this year because they have the Georgia State bench press meet, which actually that's coming up to October 19th. So since they have a separate Georgia State bench press meet, it kind of didn't make sense to have
Mm,
the Georgia State meet have a bench only division. So the bench only division has been removed from that meet. So it's only full power now.
mm,
Yeah, which I don't think is a bad move. I mean, it makes sense to me that if you have a separate Georgia State bench championship, then you know I wouldn't have a that'd be like having bench press nationals and then having a bench only division at Raw Nationals. Like with
yeah.
yeah.
I
So
mean, if you're doing full power, you can also do bench only at the same time.
right.
So that part's kind of convenient.
It's convenient, but
So,
who's the Georgia State bench press champion then? The one that won the Georgia State
mm,
bench press championship or the one that won the
oh,
bench only
I see what
division
you're
at the
saying there.
Georgia State championship?
Whoever had the better bench press.
Well,
I
yeah,
see what you're saying
theoretically,
there.
but yeah, so it just
Yeah,
yeah,
bragging
I think
rights.
it cleans it up a little bit. Like if you want that title, you got to go compete at that meet.
Yeah. Okay.
So I like it.
Valid.
I actually that's a change I actually like.
Valid.
Valid.
Valid. I'll be
Uh,
quiet.
yeah. Military Nationals registration is going to open on Veterans Day, which is Monday, November 11th. So basically, there's going to be a discounted rate to register on that day only. Regular registration will open on Tuesday, November 12th. So that's coming up soon. So if you're planning on competing at Military Nationals, and that's Military, Police, and Fire Nationals, and the other part with that is it was recently voted at the NGB more people are eligible this year than before. So currently with the changes, it's open to active duty, retired, National Guard, reservists, veterans, wounded warriors, military academy students, DoD civilians, police, firefighters, EMS, and dependents. So I think the eligibility has been expanded there, so a lot more people are eligible to compete. And I know that's been a bottleneck for a while. A lot of people, you know,
Hmm,
that just at a glance should qualify. Just the way it was written, they were not allowed to compete. Now they are. So I expect that meet to be pretty big and pretty exciting actually. And that's going to be in Noonan, Georgia. It's in our backyard.
right. Very
Yeah.
cool.
So anyway, the point of my rant is make sure you register on Monday, November 11th. Let's see. So the Special Olympics Florida Fall Classic is coming up November 8th and 9th, and that's down at the ESPN Wide World of Sports at Disney. I actually went to it last year, took equipment down. I'm taking equipment down again this year. So I'm actually, yeah, I come back from my break like November 3rd. And then on Wednesday, November 6th, I'm driving down to Orlando, Florida. with
Oh,
equipment.
wow.
But since the new baby's going to be here and everything, I'm not staying like I did last year. So I'm actually driving down on Wednesday, flying back Wednesday night,
Oh, wow.
and then flying back down on Saturday when it's over to help load up and drive back Saturday night. So
Because you want to stay married.
yeah, what
Huh.
exactly.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I
that's
really love that
smart.
meet. I wish I could be there and be part of it, but there's certain times that's just not in the cards, and this
Right.
is one of them. So I still get to participate in a way, but it's pretty cool because it's actually in Disney. And when I was there last year, we stayed. I can't remember what the name of it was, but we were on the resort, and I stayed in the sports themed hotel.
Hmm.
It had a big football helmet on the side of it. It was pretty cool. So it was a cool free trip to Disney, but I didn't get to do much because I was working the event. So,
Right.
but it's still just cool to be there.
Right.
Anyway,
That's,
I'm talking a lot.
I'm not.
I know.
It's okay.
Sorry. All right. I'll continue talking. I
Okay.
had one more pet peeve, driving pet peeve on my list that we never got to. Did you have any others? Open the floor. Because yours was, I don't even remember what yours was now.
People being at the gas tanks
Oh,
without
but not being
and then
without
being in
being
the
in.
store. I do actually have a new one that's topical,
All right.
even. You want to hear it?
Yeah. Of
This is from real life.
course I want to
Um,
hear it. Let's go.
yeah, so I was driving out of Florida, and this was right after Hurricane Helene. And there were certain areas that were pretty hard hit. Where I was from was not one of them. But because I had a family kind of emergency going on, I had to get down to Florida like right away. So I'm driving down to Florida, and I got to about, I guess it was like Tifton area, and my gas light went off. And I wasn't really thinking much of anything, other than the fact that I needed to get to Florida as soon as possible. But okay, now I need to get gas. So I get off to get gas, and the gas station's closed. And I was like, oh, well, that's weird. Okay, I'll just go down to the next exit. So I go down to the next exit, and two more gas stations are closed. And I'm like, wait, is there a gas shortage? And based on where I was, like, yeah, there was a gas shortage, but it was after the hurricane had passed, right? So all the trees that were going to be down and any of the destruction that was going to happen has already happened. There was definitely people out of power. But I finally found a gas station that had gas, but people were stacking up on those gas tanks with all of the tanks that they could bring in. So there were
Like the
like
gas jugs and things like
gas
that, filling them up.
jugs. Yeah. And, here I am. I'm just trying to get to Florida. I don't care about no gas jugs. I just want to get to Florida.
Old old milk gallons, filling
There
them
was
up.
somebody with a 55-gallon blue barrel that they were filling up with gas in front of me. And I'm like, I need to get to Florida. And I just needed gas before I ran out of gas, on my way to Florida. So I guess my pet peeve is like when all this stuff is happening, people need gas for their cars when they're traveling. I get it, we need gas for generators and stuff, but like don't be a gas hog. Like don't create the rush. Don't create the panic by
Yeah,
just being that person who's like, I need all the gas you can, I had to get out of my car and ask somebody if I could actually get in line because I kept getting cut off by other people getting in.
really.
And, yeah. And at this point I was just like just about in tears and just being like, I need to get to Florida. I have a family member in the ICU. I got to get to Florida. And, it probably sounded like a story to the person I ended up talking to, but I'm like, this is real. And it just made me think like, hey, I'm not really worried about the zombie apocalypse. Like we know how zombies will act, right? They'll eat people. People though,
Yeah,
what the
people get
hell are
nuts.
people going to do?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like some of the, I'm trying to think what movies, stuff like that happens. Like it's the people that you got to watch out for. They turn on each
Yeah.
other. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, or am I? But like, there's those things that like, if somebody ever, I've seen it somewhere, like if China or whoever ever like can take out our electrical grid, the chain reaction of that, like, there'd be obviously no power. So, gas stations wouldn't be able to pump gas. Internet wouldn't work. Phones would be down, all this stuff.
Mm,
Grocery stores would end up not having food because of the supply chain and things like that would all go down. And when people start running out of food in their pantry, or the food goes bad in their freezers because the power's out, like that is going to create super panicky people,
yeah,
and what are they going to
very.
do? So, yeah, I think
They
all
become the
that's,
zombies and start eating people.
well, maybe I wasn't going to say that, but
A
maybe,
little morbid, but
yeah,
yeah, and creating a gas run that I don't know if it was valid or not, but like, yeah, people freak out before it's
yeah,
necessary. It's like grocery stores being empty of water and toilet paper, when nothing's really happened. And
right,
now people can't take a shit.
yeah. Oh, this is completely unrelated, but do you remember when Mike Tyson fought Peter McNeely back in, I don't know if it was the late 80s or early 90s? This is this has nothing to do with anything.
I don't.
The Peter McNeely, he's kind of funny, but he was doing like the interviews before the fight, and he's like, if people don't respect who I am and what I've been through, you have a big dump in your pants. That's what he said. That's what he said on, like, in his actual, like, interview with, like, the press and everybody there. And I don't know, that video popped up in my feed the other day, and I watched it, and it's been in my head ever since because it's so funny and just like out of left field. Like,
Yeah,
why do you say that? Oh,
that is out of left field.
yeah.
All right. So what's your pet peeve?
Thanks for bringing us back to reality here.
Sorry.
Less drastic than yours, but it really bothers me when people park across from each other, like on a narrow road. So,
Yeah.
like, there's street parking, and you're welcome to park on both sides, but when you're the only two cars on the street and you happen to be parked across the street from each other, literally, like, it's like I've seen like a school bus before not be able to fit and sit there and honk the horn until one of the cars comes out and moves so they can get through. It's like, why don't you just go another 10 feet
Right.
forward so that there's room to get through? Like, it's just, and people in my neighborhood do it all the time. So if anybody's in my neighborhood listening to this, which you're probably not, but I wish you would, stop parking like that.
Uh, my mom was living in a small subdivision that had that same problem, and sometimes we would have to like just like kind of glance down the street and be like, okay, we're gonna have to go around and go the other way.
Oh, here's the other thing.
That
They're notoriously bad at parking anyway. So a lot of them have like a foot or two between their wheel and the curb. So they're not even against the curb. They're just like
Hmm.
parked out in left field directly across from somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where I've been walking with Emma in the stroller, and we actually drive the stroller between the curb and the car. There's that much room.
Wow.
Like, literally. It's so stupid.
Oblivious.
Yeah.
Oblivious.
Anyway. So
Yeah,
that's my
I'm with
pet
you there.
peeve. I can cross that one off the list. Those are my three
Literally.
driving pet peeves that are my pet peeves.
You go. All right, we're gonna move on to the powerlifting situation. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So here we go. Your opening deadlift of 285 kilos was easy, but you tweaked your back slightly. So now you are the last deadlifter, and you're currently in second place. Your second attempt of 305 will move you into first place prior to your competitor's third attempt. But another coach suggests that you pass on your second attempt just to load up what you need to win for your third attempt, even though it'll be likely in the 325 range. What do you do?
Yeah, I think this is going to be lifter specific a little bit because my gut answer is absolutely pass and just put on what you need at the end because you're the last deadlifter anyway. So if you pull your second to move into first, but then your competitor makes their third attempt, then you got to go pull a third attempt anyway. And if you already have a tweaked back, you might only be good for one more lift if you're even good for one more. So I mean, I think things to take into consideration is what level competition this is. Like if it's a local meet that doesn't really mean anything, if you're not trying to hit a qualifying total, it might not be worth taking another attempt. It might just be worth shutting it down and not risking hurting yourself further. But if it is a national championship or something like that where it means something like, and you're going to have the last deadlift anyway, I think you um, put all your eggs in that basket. Because if your competitor misses their third, then you can, lower back down to what you need to win anyway, in most cases. So you only have to pull one time. So you might as well wait and pull that one time when you know for a fact that the number is going to be to win. Now the only thing I would say where that might not be the case is like, if we look at the numbers listed here, you opened at 285 and you're going to likely have to go to 325. That's a 40 kilo jump essentially if you don't take a second attempt. I know for a lot of lifters, like that doesn't mean anything. If on meet day they're a gamer, they're up for whatever. But I know some lifters that are not like that, where they need to take a stepping stone to get to that number, or it's a very low probability they'll make it. So even though they're capable of it, they need that stepping stone. So that's the one that would be tricky because you know how much is left in their tank if they tweak their back a little bit. It says slightly, so I'm assuming that means they felt something a little bit off, but it's not major. If it's major, that's a different story. Then you probably are shutting it down for sure. But I don't know. So there's not really a right and wrong here. I don't know. And we've
It depends.
it depends. And I've done this with lifters. Basically just like, hey, we're gonna pass the second, and you're gonna pull for the win at the end. Are you in? And yeah, if there's any hesitation, then I know they're not confident in that strategy, then we probably take a second. But you know, some of those lifters are, you could put on 500 kilos and they're going to go out and give their best effort, right? Even though that's not going to happen. So, I think just knowing the lifter and what their mentality is. But I think just from a risk management standpoint, I think passing the second is the right call, and just going out and pulling one more time instead of two, if possible.
Agree.
Cool. Well, that's all I have. I don't have a new lifter tip this week. I haven't thought
No
about it
new lifter tip.
unless you
Yeah.
have one.
Thanks for putting me on the spot. No,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I already said I don't have one, so you can say that too.
yeah, I don't have.
Cool. All right. Well, we're out of ideas.
And no more pet peeves.
Yeah.
So good luck on the new baby arrival.
Thank you. We're
That
excited.
that's so exciting, and we expect after you notify your family and all that, a notification to the listeners, and I would be first
Of course.
with the family, of course, but I'm excited.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, we'll see what we get. Boy or
Let's
girl,
see what
we
we get.
don't know. And it's funny because we don't even have like Emma was a girl and Hope was convinced that she was a boy the whole time. So
Hmm.
she kind of doesn't really know or have a feeling one way or the other this time around. And
Hmm.
I don't either. So
You get what you get,
get what you
and
get.
it'll all be
Yep.
good.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
it'll be fun. So cool. All right. Well, like I said, we're probably going to take a couple weeks off, so we'll probably be back. Wow. I guess we won't be back until probably the week of November 13th.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
So
while.
by then we'll know what happened with this hurricane that's about to come through, and what happened with the election, and like what happened
Oh
with the
man, you're
baby, and
right.
like, boy,
There's a whole lot of
there'll
stuff
be
happening here.
yeah,
Boy.
there'll be some big updates.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Cool. All right.
Oh, and here's one last thing. Sorry. Have you been getting a lot of texts from political parties saying, "Hey, make sure to vote for blah blah blah,"
Yep.
or give me this donation and all this? So I started getting the texts, and I was just like pissed off. And instead of hitting stop to unsubscribe, I clicked fuck off. Guess what also unsubscribes you?
Does that work?
That works.
That is awesome.
And it's really, really satisfying. So next time you get one of those texts that's unsolicited, just type fuck off.
All
It's
right.
not
Well,
as fast, like you don't get the reply as fast, but I think they have a filter that goes through and says if somebody says something like inappropriate or like hostile, I guess that would probably be considered hostile, just automatically unsubscribe them because you don't want to keep, sending people those texts because you're wasting your money. So my advice, when you get one of those texts, just say fuck off.
that's a good one. So I went a different direction. I got a text. It wasn't a political one. It was a random text like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I get these a lot too. I miss you, dear. Hope you're doing well, or something like that. And I think they're all some sort of scam. I haven't figured out what it is yet, but I was actually at the gym. Amy was training, and I was reading it out loud and responding in between sets. And I blocked them at the end, so I can't go back and read it verbatim. But essentially, the conversation went like this. There was a conversation. Uh, so my response was, "Some nerve you have texting me after what you did." And they're like, "What are you talking about? I'm I'm Jenny's friend." And I go, "Yeah, Jenny and I got divorced, and she got the house and I got her phone." And they wrote back, and they said their name. I can't remember what their name was. "I think you have me confused with somebody else." And I wrote back, "No, that you're the one, like blah blah blah." And then she's like, "No, I'm blah blah blah." I can't remember how it went. And I'm like, "Oh, you must be a different what person named this or whatever. I must have you confused with somebody else. I'm so sorry." And then she wrote back, "I'm so sorry for the confusion, blah blah blah." And I wrote back, "Don't worry, it's fine. My blood pressure will come down in the next few hours." And she's like, "Why is your blood pressure high?" And that's when I
Uh.
that's when I just got bored with it and blocked her. But and it was time for Amy to do another set. So
Right, right.
yeah,
Yes. So
I'm kind of a child when it comes to stuff like that.
so next time you get that odd text that yeah, we get some weird texts sometimes. Hey, do you take credit cards? For Dan's tree business. Do you take credit cards?
Right.
Oh, of course, most
Yeah.
companies take credit cards. It's the way that they engage you into some other weird scam.
Yeah. I get like I have three daughters that want personal training
Yes,
3 days a week. Can
yes,
you train them for 6 weeks and I'll pay you up front?
right,
And
right.
that's
The
the initial
driver will bring
text.
them. The driver.
Yeah, that's the initial
Mhm,
text, and I'm just like,
mhm.
so I actually went on did my deal with one of them one time too, and it ended up being like a 5 day back and forth conversation, just like talking about
Wow.
specifics and some of my particulars that are non-negotiables on my end that I just made up. And they're like, that all sounds fair. And some of it was outrageous. Like, you know, I need, I need a dozen donuts, every Friday brought to the gym to share with my staff. It's just like stupid things. And like, we can do that. And I'm just like,
Mm.
after like 5 days of wasting my life on this, I'm like, all right, what am I doing?
That's when you type fuck off,
Yeah, right.
block.
Oh man. So that's like my Achilles
Mm.
heel is like stupid text and things like that that I end up wasting time on.
Nice,
But it amuses me.
nice.
So is it waste of time if I'm amused? I don't know.
No, absolutely not.
All right,
Absolutely
good.
not.
Then I feel validated.
Yes, there you go. Glad I could validate you.
Yeah. Oh
All right,
shoot.
Josh. Well, until I hear the news,
All right.
and to our listeners, see you next time.
See you next time. Later.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.